because when I came home after 8 years, I paroled out to my brother's walk-in closet.
I still got 3 years of parole left.
It's Dr. Ruben West. We're here live on the show. We're in Florida, and I'm here with Joshua Paul Hooks. Now, this is going to be a great interview. I'm at an event. There's all these entrepreneurs here, business owners, people that are investors that are looking to invest in business. And I got a chance to meet Joshua, and of course, he was talking with Brenda, and we said, hey, we've got to interview you on the show for 2 reasons. Number one, it's fascinating. Number two, I believe that he has things that you're going to want to hear and that you can also benefit from. So, Joshua, as we get started, you said that you're a Florida native.
I'm a Florida boy, born and raised.
Born and raised. And I told him I'm from Kansas, live in Bloomington, Illinois. First thing he said is, that's too cold for me.
Too cold for me. Not doing it.
The truth is, it's too cold for me right now. So I'm trying to get out of it too. But, as we get started, I started to ask you about your businesses, and I said, no, wait a minute, let me just ask you on camera. You're here, it's a conference with all these entrepreneurs, so I figured you had to have a business. Tell us a little bit about your business, or your businesses, I say.
Sure. So, lifelong entrepreneur, been born and raised as an entrepreneur. My father started the first ever, or the largest growing food service company in the state of Florida.
Wow.
And sold that to a national company and a national brand, and during that process, he was in there grinding day in and day out. And so I was homeschooled. I spent time, literally behind his desk working on my books and schoolwork, and then I would go out and work in the warehouse and sweep the floors and do all those things. And so I grew up in it.
I want to say something that you just said, especially for anybody that's an entrepreneur. Notice that it was a life cycle of the business.
Yeah.
He started the business, grew the business, and then had an exit strategy and exit out of the business. Yeah. So that's something that we don't always think about as entrepreneurs. What's our exit strategy?
Yeah.
And so you said you were there, you were learning, you were sweeping the floor, participating. From your father, what do you feel like is one of your greatest lessons that you learned?
Greatest lesson is persistence is key, number one, and to show up every day. And I think that's what's got me through. I'm not the smartest guy that's in the room, and 90% of the rooms I'm in, I'm not even close to the smartest guy, but I'm a persistent guy. I get up early and I go every day, and I watch my dad do that and build literally from nothing. He started with nothing and grew to exit a company that was the largest in his industry in the state and to a large national brand.
Let me just sum up what he just said. Discipline will get you started. Discipline will get you to the starting line.
Yeah.
Persistence will get you to the finish line.
Absolutely.
And so I love that. He said, you got to be persistent. And so as we get going, I don't want you to just listen. I want you to take in the information. And I just want you to take the time to think about what is it that you may be doing, or that you want to do, or that you have done where you may not have been as persistent or committed as you should have. You don't have to tell us. Just take some notes, because I believe that we can all learn from this interview. So just write that down. What is it that what area of your life would you might want to be more persistent in? And so you're still in the food industry?
I am in one of my businesses. So I've
one of
them. I grew and I came out. We'll get to later about my incarceration, but I came out of incarceration having spent 9 months plus incarcerated. really focusing on the goals that I want to accomplish when I get out, and physically writing them down so that I can cross them off as I accomplish them. I mean, coming out with no driver's license, no vehicle, no place to go, and the people that I harmed, don't want me around anymore, and all those things are weighing on you. I'm a young guy, and you come out with nothing, and so you have to start with the little thing. I've got to get the driver's license back so that I can get the job, and it was one thing after another, and I made those check marks, but the check mark didn't stop with those little tasks. It was all the way to, I want to build this business so that then I can exit and sell the business so that then I could do this, because ultimately my goal is to grow the business to be able to be financially stable enough to be able to help others that were where I was.
Now, I'm going to ask you a question. That's fantastic. Did you hear what he just said? That's powerful. If you weren't incarcerated, because you said during that incarceration, which I know a lot of people use it as dead time. And what I mean by dead time is something that they go through, but it's not something that they grow through.
Yeah.
And what you just said is I found myself there, and I started making goals. I just started making decisions, things I was going to live for, live by. So you in your mind right there said, this is not just going to be dead time for me.
Yeah.
This is going to be time that I'm going to use to decide the steps I'm going to make when I get out of it, no questions, and I'm going to use that persistence that you talked about to get to that finish line. If you hadn't been through that experience, do you think you would have been as focused?
I think about that regularly, actually. And, when you're in there and you're in the throes of it, it's easy to get depressed and down about it. And so, like you said, I had to make that mental, decision. It's a decision that I'm going to use this time to maximize, my life, not to diminish my life. And so that's what I did. I went in with that mindset, and I did just that. I focused on the future. Now, and just so you guys know, that 9 months was probably one of the, having a daughter is great and is probably the paramount, but is one of the greatest times of my life was the 9 months, because it allowed me to reset, it allowed me to really dial in and focus on what I wanted out of life, not just career, but family, finances, physically, all those things. I was in there and I reevaluated every single portion of my life. And so having that is one of my greatest strengths, and it's been just a catapult to help me everything in life, whether it's business or not. I look at business as there's no bad day in business, because no bad day in business is anywhere close to a good day I had in jail. And so when
your worst day in business is better than your best day in jail.
Absolutely. So when I look at it from that way, now it just makes things, it gets to that good perspective. And so not being incarcerated and not going through that, I think I've always had a drive, and I had a good example in my father to follow in business. So I might have, I probably would have pushed into business, but I don't think I would have had the tenacity and the persistence and the drive, and I guess the fire under me if I hadn't gone through what I went through.
I love that. I want to tie back to something that he said. Remember, I said earlier that the decision gets you to the starting line, but you said persistence gets you to the finish line. But you see, in prison is where he made those decisions. You said, I made the decision, I'm going to do this.
To be persistent. That was one of the decisions I made.
It's very powerful. I want to just say something just to our audience members, because it's important that we take this information and apply it. And one of the things I believe, Josh, is that many people struggle. And it's not because they have a setback like you had, because they went to prison. It's not because they lost a leg in an accident. It's not because they were burned in a fire. It's not because they wrecked their car and they lost memory. They struggle because they're comfortable.
Yeah.
They haven't had any adversity. They've been able to skate along. They've been able to just go forward, and nothing or no one has challenged them to bring out the best in you.
Yeah.
And sometimes those difficult situations make you say, okay, wait a minute, I don't belong here.
Yeah.
I mean, I ended up here. I made a mistake, and we all know there's a difference between what you've done and who you are.
Yeah.
But you're saying to yourself, I don't belong here. Right? And it gives you that drive, that determination, because I believe one of the things you said was there are some people that in some way you affected for whatever you did, and then you get out and you really feel bad about it, but they don't want anything to do with you, and they don't want to hear it anymore. But wasn't there something in you that said, I'm going to show people the real me.
Oh yeah.
Tell us about that.
So it was, obviously your parents come to mind and all your close family members, whoever that core group is.
Yeah.
But for me, it was not just those people. I mean, obviously that was part of it, but it wasn't just those people. For me, it was the judge. And I've got a crazy story about the judge in my case. I wanted to show her, that I could do it. And I did. And it was a really moving moment when that came to fruition. So yeah.
Well, tell us about it. We're here now talking about it. Tell us about that. I'd like to hear it.
So I guess I'll start with the charges first and kind of go through the story, and I'll keep it brief for us. Not get in all the nitty gritty of it. Yeah. But so I started, it was my senior year of high school, and I had been going through some stuff and backstory. A childhood of sexual molestation and challenging a lot of core beliefs, Christianity. I was thrown in religion, and so I questioned that through that process. It was a several-year process that I went through that, and obviously during, but after that process, I was battling internally with a lot of those, what's real, what's not, who am I not, and is God real, and all those questions, right? Like deep questions. And it led me down a really dark path, and it led me to ultimately addiction. And that addiction took over, and that's what led to incarceration, right? It was, I stole to support my habit and my lifestyle. And I did that from large corporations and was successful at it for many years until I got caught and went through the process. And when I got caught, I turned myself over and admitted, everything I had done, and tried to work out a deal with the state and the detectives that were investigating the case at the time, and went to court. And you know how that goes. You get in front of the judge, and the state makes an offer, and never been through the system before, and I'm in front of the judge, and standing there, and I've got a public defender standing next to me because I don't know anything about the system, and knees are shaking, and I almost collapsed when they told me that the state was offering me a 7-year deal. That was the deal.
That was the deal.
That was the deal they were offering.
No, that's the discounted deal.
Yeah, that's the discounted deal. And so, complete flush, and shake you to your core.
And how old were you at the time?
I was 19, 20, somewhere in there. Yeah,
let's just say 20.
Yeah.
You weren't even 21 yet.
Right. Yeah.
And they're offering a deal for 7 years.
7 years because of the dollar amount. And it was multi-corporations.
Got it, yeah.
So it was an online thing.
Yeah.
So I'm in front of the judge, and that's the offer that's given by the state. And I pled with the judge, is there anything we could do? I'm not going to take it to trial because I've already admitted everything. And I'm not going to prison for 7 years, Your Honor.
Yeah.
And we went back and forth, and that's the deal. Is that's what they're offering, and so I kept pleading. I didn't give up. Again, it goes back to that persistence.
I guess so. And you had a good reason to be persistent.
Yeah, that moment I think maybe that was the start of it. Yeah, that's probably the start of it. So
I agree.
I started, pushing on Judge Nancy Mollet, and I said, is there anything we can do? I'll do whatever it takes to prove to you, Your Honor, that this isn't who I am. I made a mistake. I fell into this, and there's a whole story around that, how it happened, and so I was persistent, kept fighting for my life essentially. And she said, you know what, Joshua, the only thing I could do, and you'd have to give me a really good reason to convince me to, is I can essentially, and I don't remember the caveats of it, but a downward departure, I think is what they call it, where the judge can overrule the state's offer and offer but they rarely do it. Very, very few and far between, from what I understand. So she says, I'm gonna make you an offer, Joshua. I don't think you're gonna like it, and I don't think you should take it, but I'm gonna make you an offer, right? Yeah. And so she makes me an offer of she'll let me out. I'll do 9 months in. I had already done a few months by that point, and she says, I'll give you 9 months, and then I'll release you on probation. And that sounds like a great deal. Yeah, let's do it. Where do I sign? Yeah. And she said, but I'm going to put you on probation until you pay back every single dollar that you defrauded from these corporations. And pay your court costs and your supervision costs and all that goes with it. And if you violate that probation one more time, whether it's 2 years that it takes to pay it off or 30 years, if you violate in that time, which is really hard to get through probation without something. And if you come back to me on a violation, I'm going to give you the maximum penalty. So take it or leave it. what do you want to do? And I begged for a little bit more time. This was a Friday. I said, can I come back Monday, Your Honor, and let me just, talk to my family and think about it. So that's what I did. I came back on Monday, and, you're in there, you want out. So I took the deal, and I didn't know if that was going to be a dumb decision or not. But when I decided to take the deal, I had to make other decisions in my life. That was it. That was the line, and that going forward, it was going to be one way and one way only.
Straight and narrow.
And straight and narrow was the way it was going to be, and I had to do, X, Y, Z to accomplish that, from the little things all the way to the grand things. And so that's what I did. I took the deal. I got out. It took me 7 years. So 7 years I was on probation, but I lived my life. I built my first business in that 7 years. I sold my first business in that 7 years, and that business paid off all $330,000+ in restitution I had to pay in court costs. I paid the last $12,000 to that clerk on, I believe it was 2008, early 2008, and I walked into the judge's courtroom because she told me the day I was sentenced that the day I paid off all the money, she would terminate my probation. So I had my receipt.
Wow.
Go back in, she's still a judge 7 years later. Walk into her courtroom, she's on the bench, it's 11 in the morning, whatever it was. Yeah. And the bailiff, stops me, what can I help you with? And I said, I have my receipt. Miss Lay told me the day I pay off my court costs that I could come in, she'll terminate my probation. I'm here for that. And he says, it doesn't work that way. You got to file a motion and call the judge's assistant, all these things. I said, no.
That's not what she said.
Told me,
she said
today to bring it up here, come from upstairs and bring it, and she'll terminate me that day. And he says, if she said that, I'll ask her and I'll let you know. So he came back a half an hour later and he says, she can't believe you're here. She'll see you right after lunch, because she had just broke for lunch when he talked to her, and she'll see you. So right after lunch, sure enough, she called me up, went in front of her. And I don't think I've ever cried like a baby in my life so hard. She gave me a 10-15 minute, talking and really told me how proud she was, and she didn't think she'd see me unless it was to sentence me to prison. And I'll fast forward to a few years later. I decided, after exiting my second business, that I was going to do something with my life, because I had some financial, I had a little money set aside after that exit and paying back debts. And I said, I'm going to do something this time that's a passion project, something that I wanted to do. So I started an addiction treatment program.
That's fantastic.
And the Pacific coast of Nicaragua and Central America, and incredible story there. That's, another whole story. But in that journey, the reason why I bring it up is, as I started that addiction treatment facility, Miss Lay had since retired. I reached out to her, and she became a board member of that.
Oh,
so the judge that sentenced me became a business partner and board member for that business. And it was an incredible moment. And still to this day, she's a mentor to me. I could call her for anything, and she's there to coach me, just give me love and advice. And that goes,
Josh. Literally, my hair stand up. You can't see it, but when you said that, literally, I could feel it. That's just a perfect example of turning your mess into a methodology to help other people get through it. But I want to say something, because it's so profound. We always say, let your haters be your motivators and things like that, because a lot of people don't believe in you. But one of the things that I say from time to time is, don't just do it to prove the other people wrong. Do it to prove the people that believed in you and gave you a chance. Prove them right.
Yeah, exactly.
And when you walk into that room, by the way, you served the 7 years they were offering you, just on probation and not in jail.
Think about that.
I got it. When you said it, I said, man, that was actually 7 years. You served the 7 years on probation and you freed yourself. But when you walked in that day, because she had a decision to make when she was sentencing you. And it's most judges, when you're going to be sentenced, they have a PSI officer, pre-sentencing investigation officer, look at your background, look at your crime, and they give a recommendation to the judge. And typically the judge always goes along with it.
Exactly.
Because they didn't have time to do all the research and stuff, and especially with the prosecutors, they're kind of on the same side, really. Yeah. And so usually when they say, this is what we're doing, and we're going to knock it down, we're giving them this discounted time, that's really what it is. They don't. So she really went out on a limb.
She did.
For you.
Yeah.
And so when you walked in that day, you not only showed her who you were, but you showed her to believe in yourself.
Yeah.
That every once in a while you'll get an inkling to go against the grain, to go against what's normal, to do something out of the ordinary, and it's okay. One of the things you said before you got in that trouble is you said, I was really mixed up. I was in a dark place and I was really questioning God and religion. My goodness, when she offered you that 9 months, that should have answered the question. You know what I'm saying? You said, I guess he is real. You know, because I actually did I did the crime.
Yeah.
But you got a chance to show who you really were.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm excited for the people listening now, because most of us will never get that wake-up call.
Yeah.
It's only going to come from a quiet inkling inside. That nervousness that you feel as the butterflies in your stomach, encouraging you to step out of your comfort zone. It knows who you were called to be, but because you had the wake-up call, you answered it.
Yeah.
Now, there's a lot of people that get that same call.
They run
from it. They go the opposite direction. They get surrounded by people that have done wrong things. And my original degree was criminal justice.
Okay.
And I learned that a lot of people go into prison to learn, and to jail to learn how to commit better crimes.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of that is they feel unworthy. Once they do the first one, they feel like by society that they can't get a job. They have no opportunity. They're not going to get whatever the case may be. I'm a deadbeat now because this one mistake I made, right? And so they fall into that and they go down that road, and it's sad.
You're so right, Josh. And you know, I've gotten a chance to speak at a few prisons from time to time.
Yeah.
And one of the things I told them is that we've all done stuff wrong at various levels and different things, but there's no one that's lived a perfect life. And if every person that had ever had a drink that drove were stopped,
we'd all be in trouble.
it would just be ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody has done things that could be called into question, but they just, for whatever reason, didn't get caught, or they got let off the hook, or the circumstances worked out in their favor. And so I always say there's a difference between what we do and who we are, because at any given moment, we could all do something wrong. And then, let me tell you this, Josh, and this is for anybody listening. I worked in surgery, and I still do from time to time. And I assist various surgeons, heart surgery, neurosurgery, you name it. But what I can tell you is that when they bring a patient in, they have them sign a consent. And they'll consent to the procedure, consent to being treated if it's a female, consent to a pregnancy test. They have to sign a consent. But they will never, listen to this, important, you listen, they will never let them sign a consent after they've given them the drugs. Because they say at that point, you're not really in your right mind. You can't have the full capabilities of your faculties. And I'm only bringing it back to you that if you were on drugs, which you were, even though you said, I made the decision, you made the decision impaired, and it wouldn't hold up if you were going into surgery or doing anything else with your life. You couldn't go into the military, drunk, signing, saying you're going to join. They wouldn't let you because they know at that moment you're not in the full capabilities of your faculties. And I would suggest that when you got on drugs, not that you wanted to or you didn't want to, because what I've learned is that most people who are on drugs are on there for a reason. There's a story behind it. There's something that they've been through that most of us can't understand. There's some internal turmoil that they're dealing with, like you said, and it's a coping mechanism. There's physical pain. There's mental pain. And when you're physically in pain, they'll even give you drugs. They say, hey, take this hydrocodone, take this ibuprofen. Like, there's things for you. But when you're in mental pain, there's no one to go to and say, hey, I'm in mental pain. What? Go. I mean, it's not going to quick.
Nobody asked you.
Right. And so in that regard, you find a way to self-medicate. And
so common.
It's very common.
And a lot of it's alcohol.
A lot of it's alcohol. So I just commend you for not only going through, but growing through. And then being willing to come tell people, because there's people out there right now that are struggling. And this is what I want you to do. If there's someone out there right now that may happen to be on drugs because of something in their past, what suggestion could you give them to help them avoid what you had to walk through?
Well, I mean, it's easy to say stop, but that's just not the reality of it, right? And so if you are conscious enough to understand you have a problem, which most drug users are, and you want to fix that problem, then reach out. There's people out there that want to help. There's so many people. I mean, that's why we're here, right? And so reach out, look for that help.
You know, I always say that if you can't be honest, you can't be helped.
Yeah.
And that doesn't matter. It's not about drugs. It's any situation. If I had a pain in my side and I went to the doctor and said, well, how, what brings you in today? Oh, nothing, doc, just a checkup. Then he's going to take my blood pressure, height, weight, pulse, hearing, eyes, and send you out the door. Because I wasn't honest. But through that honesty, he said, oh, you're dealing with what? Okay, now let me check you for that.
Right.
And so if you're dealing with a situation like that, I just want to encourage you, go to a professional. All of us as a professional, healthcare professionals, we have HIPAA laws where we have to protect your privacy, so you don't have to worry about that. But more importantly, there's a version of you that is available on the other side of the incident or the treatment that you will never know until you walk through.
Absolutely.
And so I just want to encourage you. Now, Josh, tell us, you have more than one business.
Yep.
What's another business?
So here today, actually, as part of this event with the Harrington team and Big Brand Ventures, and we're having a lot of fun here today, and that's where we met.
Exactly.
But here on Sunburn Drink, so Sunburn Drink is one of the businesses I'm operating now. It's a powder mix. It's all natural. You mix it with water. Comes in a stick pack like Liquid IV, and you drink it down, and your sunburn's on overnight. So literally reverses the symptoms of a sunburn. So it's a functional beverage. We're pushing hard. We're working deals with Walmart this spring. And Amazon, all the social media stores and websites, and Walmart.com we're on. So growing that business, I've got a chain of 4 barbecue restaurants in growing called Station House Barbecue.
Are they in
they're in this Tampa.
Good, I want to go there.
I actually was talking, we got to do like a catering deal on the next event.
That's fantastic.
So Station House Barbecue is one of my brands. I've in the pool business, we construct high-end swimming pools. We construct shipping container swimming pools.
Is anybody hearing this? 3, 4, 5 businesses. Are you hearing this? 3, 4, 5 businesses. I mean, this is amazing.
Yeah.
This is amazing. And what I come to see is that once you figure out you can do it.
I was just going to get to that. So once you kind of figure out that formula, and there's no magic. It's not like a magic formula. It's a process, a methodical process. And I worked that out, again, through persistency. I made tons of mistakes and lost money. And, I ate ham sandwiches forever and ate ramen noodles, after jail for years to be able, one, to pay off those costs and live below my means. I didn't come out and go buy a brand new car. First, I drove a beater, and I did what I had to do to get off that paper. And, going back to the businesses, having those businesses, you learn kind of the process. And once you do one, you can implement those practices into almost any business in any field, right? And so what I started doing is leveraging those techniques in other people's businesses. So I would meet people through conferences like this and just out networking that were starting their own businesses, right? And I said, well, I know how to do it. Let me give you some tips. And that turned into a consulting business, which is my primary business. So I own equity in many, I probably have 6 or 7 different businesses. I have some real estate now that I'm developing in Georgia, 184 acres there. That's beautiful. But the core business, and what really motivates me and drives me to this day today, is that I help young entrepreneurs, well, they don't have to be young, any entrepreneur, but they're early stage entrepreneurs that need just a little bit of guidance and coaching to get their business to profitability. And that's what I do now, and I absolutely love it. And I love working with people that have a past, that have gone through something, because usually they make the best entrepreneurs. When you look back and you look at the data, it's the C students that are the entrepreneurs. It's the kids that dropped out of high school. And I don't know all the factors around that, but the data shows that. And so I like working with people that have gone through something and want to better their lives. And so that's where I thrive, because I get to live what I went through kind of over and over again through that process. And it's in a way, it's its own addiction for me, right? Maybe I didn't beat addiction. Maybe I just transferred the addiction.
And it's very, listen to what he said. When they're talking about habit, they say it's not a matter of breaking the habit, it's replacing the habit. So if you want to quit smoking, start chewing gum. If you want to do that. So I agree. Maybe you said I traded this addiction for the addiction to help someone get to the next level. Now, I got what you said when you said young entrepreneurs. You weren't talking about the age of the person, you're talking about the age of the business.
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe there's someone that would hear this and they're in that stage. Would that be somebody you'd like to talk to or interview?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm always open to that. Today I'm blessed and I'm really thankful and I'm fortunate because I've been able to, escape that past and I'm able to help others and financially build businesses. And so when I get to help people, I mean, that's more for me than money.
Now once they heard that, they probably want to know how to connect with you. So let me tell them how they can connect with you now. We're going to keep going, but I know, ask them how we can contact them. Yeah. How could they connect with you?
So our platform is Iconic Brand Group, iconicbrandgroup.com. We make brands iconic. We build them from the ground up. We focus on startups. So that's our bread and butter. We work with other brands that are more, experienced and have higher revenue. Usually, we have a great partnership with Big Brand Ventures, which is Kevin Harrington's team. Brenda, who you guys know, is an amazing part of that and really helped build that infrastructure there. And so we work hand in hand with them. And if they're a higher enterprise account, usually we'll pass them over to Big Brand Ventures. And then vice versa, if they've got some younger, obviously, in terms of their entrepreneurship journey, that just needs some principal guidelines, legal structure, making sure that they're setting the business up in the early stages for success, so that they could join a massive, group like Big Brand Ventures in the future to take that business to the hundreds of millions. That's what I specialize in. And so Iconic Brand Group does that. And then we also are operating a nonprofit that is Young Entrepreneurs of America, which is why I throw that out there often. So Young Entrepreneurs of America is a new project we're working on, and it's all about providing access, education, mentorship, support, financial support, incubator and startup, pitch competitions for youth in entrepreneurship. And specifically, I mean, we don't 100% focus, but we primarily focus in those underserved communities. We want to make sure that those people in those underserved communities understand that they don't have only college or only a job as an option after high school, that they can look at entrepreneurship as a viable and a lot of times more viable vehicle than a job.
Yeah. I want to just comment on something you said. You said, the statistics show that a lot of entrepreneurs were the dropouts that were in trouble. They found a different path. What I've determined and what we've all discovered is they've kind of categorized new levels of intelligence, right? And so I'm 57, younger, intelligence was simple, reading, writing, arithmetic, that was intelligence. And then they said, well, no, there's emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
And that was a new kind of field. Say, some people don't know how to manage relationships or interact with people on an emotional level. So they started teaching emotional intelligence, so that people that, let's say they were going to be an entrepreneur, there's a way you have to interact, react with customers, partners. It was a new level of intelligence, a new field of intelligence that they started to categorize. And then they said there's musical intelligence, that some people are just musical geniuses. I've got none of that. And there's physical intelligence. And so I say that to say, imagine taking U.S. 350 million people and putting them all through the same education system and thinking that they're supposed to come out. When you really think about it,
there's no one size fits all.
It wouldn't work. It would work nowhere else. Even in healthcare, I was sick in 2021. I was in Nairobi, Kenya, almost the whole year, and I got COVID, and I went in the hospital. And what I noticed, Josh, was they practiced the old model like we used to practice. There, they practiced healthcare. And so what happened was, this is the way we're treating this issue, and I don't care what you need. This is the way we're treating it. That's the way we're handling it. Right. And in the U.S., we had transitioned from healthcare to patient care. That it was focused around the individual, because they realized that one system would never work for everybody. So it was genius when you said that a lot of the entrepreneurs come into it from a different way because they didn't fit in the normal system.
And they had to figure another way.
Right. And I would suggest that there's probably a level of genius that we're missing. T.D. Jakes wrote a book called Instinct. And he said that there's some people that their gift or their skill is to operate by instinct. And once they've gotten something up and going where it no longer takes them figuring out, they just to let that run on its own and then go figure out something else, like you said,
Yeah.
that you can grow and build, because in my opinion, I believe you have a different level of genius honed over time, proven through your own businesses, that you can use to help individuals that may be struggling, or they have this idea, they have this passion, but it just not be their forte, right? Because genius comes in different shapes, forms, and sizes. And I have one sitting in front of me right now that took a potential prison sentence for 7 years, and turned into an entrepreneurial journey. And so I want to ask, when you went back around people who saw, I mean, initially you got out, and I'm sure there's people like, oh God, I can't believe it. Well, how dare you? I mean, 9 months, I mean, that's not right. And especially the people that you owe money to. They're like, this guy got off easy. Yeah. But has anybody came back and said, I was wrong?
It's been few and far between. I think human nature is, to not say anything, even if you believe that you were wrong, maybe. So I've had a few, very few. But it's a magical moment when they do. It's a special feeling.
Yeah, and then I think as individuals, we have to get past needing to. We do what we can do, and I think so many people get stuck wanting that validation.
Yeah.
And so I have a saying: validation is for parking tickets.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, we don't have to wait on their validation. We just do what we know we've been called to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
As an entrepreneur and someone who helps other people get their businesses going, what is the most rewarding for you?
It's watching them. Well, obviously, if they succeed in business and they hit profitability, whether it's making millions or just making enough to give them freedom in their life, right? And both of those are great,
Yeah.
And so that's one. But to me, it's watching them go through the process and having those little tiny moments throughout that process of aha, and I get a little pride back. They get a little pride back. You can see it kind of like incrementally, even if they're not profitable, just going through that. I think Tony Robbins, if I'm not mistaken, says true happiness is progress. Mm-hmm. And I really believe that to my core. I think that if you were to ask me what is happiness, I think it is progress. And it could be little progress. It could be, just not being or being sober one more day is progress, right? Yeah. And so it could be as little as that, which is major. I don't want to say that's little, or getting that driver's license back, or getting off probation, or starting the first business and getting your first account. And so watching those moments happen in real time, one, it brings me just tremendous joy because I'm almost reliving what I went through and that euphoric high of that. But then I get to see it in their eyes and watch their lives change radically, and their family around them, and it's really cool to see, because it transpires to all parts of their life. It's not just the business side. I work with them in the business, but I get to watch the rest of their life, grow. They have babies, they get married, all these life things happen that wouldn't have happened if they had kept on the same path that they were on.
It's fantastic. You guys hear that? One of the things I thought was profound that you just said, true happiness being the progress, is that we oftentimes measure where we're at to where we want to be.
Yeah.
As opposed to measuring where we at to how far we've come.
Yeah.
So if you're measuring it against where you want to be, you're always going to be not satisfied, because even when you get where you want to be, you're going to find another place that you want to be. Whereas if you stop and think, come from all the way back there. I'm not who I used to be, and I'm still on the way. And so we get a chance to celebrate those moments of progress as we continue to make additional progress. And so I thought that was profound, because when you got out after 9 months, it was step by step.
Yeah, it was nothing. I didn't even know where I was going to start.
You know what I'm saying? And so now, to look, even if there's other places you want to go, every day you can look back and say, "Man, I'm happy I ain't there."
Yeah, absolutely.
This is the definition of happiness, and you can see it real time.
Sure.
For someone out there who is starting this entrepreneur journey, and they have a product, they have a service, they have an idea, and they haven't really taken the steps to implement it, but they know they want to. What would you suggest that they do first off?
Anything, the littlest thing. It's about just taking that first step. And again, to me, and I'm sure it's the same to a lot of others that I meet, so I'm sure it'd be a lot to say to a lot of these that are watching is that those steps are what create one momentum, but also getting yourself back, the pride back, and where you can look in the mirror and be proud about yourself. And so it's just one step at a time, just taking that first step, the littlest step, it doesn't matter. But that progress is what ultimately generates the happiness in life.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. You just have to take the first step. If you don't know what that first step is, reach out to somebody. A lot of times that's what it is. It's like, I have this idea, I don't have any money, and I don't know what to do. Today, in today's age, there's so many tools available to us that we can fast track and accomplish things if you just apply yourself. You don't have to have money. I didn't have any money. I mean, I came out with nothing. And I didn't have, somebody to go borrow money from to start my first business. I mean, I worked in a job in order to start the business and live below my means. And one thing at a time until I landed my first investor. And that, gave me the chance to fly. And since then, it's been great. But it's just taking that step. And if you don't know what the step is, look for somebody to direct you.
I love it. Look, what I just got out of what you said is that it's not money that stops most people. It's the belief that they need the money.
Yeah, that's
so
huge.
Since they believe
That's
they need
huge.
the money, they don't do anything because I don't have money. And what you're saying is, don't focus on the last step. What is the next step you could take right now to move one step closer?
Or to even go get the money. I mean, there's people out there that want to help and that are looking for ideas and ventures to invest into. I do it. And so it's, I'm always looking at opportunities that come across my desk.
I had a friend in Nairobi, Kenya, and he wrote this book. It was called Homeless Money. Mm-hmm. And he said that there's all this money out there looking for a home and is looking for the next great idea, the next great entrepreneur.
So true.
And if you put it out there and put it forward, there may be some of that money that finds a home with you.
Yeah, there's money here today.
right here. I'm reaching in your pocket right now. Oh, no.
there is money here today. There is court, and these events happen all over the country. They happen all the time. Get in with Brenda and her group. She'll plug you in. If you're looking for that, she knows people to connect you with, to get you in the circle, get you in the room where there is money that is looking for opportunity. And you can take the steps today to put together the framework to get that money, to build your opportunity and your idea, and it's there.
Exactly. Well, I just really enjoy this conversation. I'm intrigued. And I want to say two things. Number one, I appreciate your transparency.
Sure.
There's so many people that are where they are, and they never reveal the backstory. I always say that champions are known for their triumphs, but they were developed by their trials.
Yeah.
But if you don't know their trials, then you think that they had it all handed to them.
Yeah.
Silver platter. Yeah. I'm reminded of a guy who was in prison. He had killed a guy. And he shot him, and he did his time in prison. But now when he got out, he had to figure out something.
Yeah.
And he's older, a lot older than we are. So at that time, he was saying that nobody really wanted to hire him or give him a chance, and people thought hey, that's it for you. And he said that I got to go with what I know. In prison, I got in a lot of fights, unfortunately, and I maybe even arranged a couple of time or two. But I know this, and in the end, I want to live the American dream.
Sure.
As a matter of fact, I'm just going to go with what I know to see if I can live the American dream. And this gentleman lived the American dream, making hundreds of millions of dollars. And he said, you can only do this in America.
Yeah.
That's his slogan, only in America. And his name is Don King. He was a prisoner, killed a guy, felon, shot him, and got out of prison and said, I know fighting, I arrange fights in prison, and I'm going to arrange fights outside of prison. And that's why every time you would see him, he'd have that little American flag and say, only in America. Because he said, because I could go from being a felon, locked up, arranging fights in prison, to getting out and arranging $1 million fights outside and getting paid. And what he didn't do was say, well, I made that mistake. I shot that guy.
I'm just going to go
sit under a rock.
Yeah.
He really turned his life around, and he changed his mindset. The last thing I want to ask you is, oftentimes as entrepreneurs or people who have changed their life, they have been inspired by some book, some show, something. And I would like for you to suggest to our audience members if there was a book you read that really impacted you, or a show that you watched that really impacted you, or a song that you like. What is one thing of inspiration that you can share with the audience members that they can go pick up today, listen to today, watch today, that you felt like really gave you some great momentum?
Sure. So books, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I loved, and there's a lot of books out there. And what I want to say about books, guys, is that you don't have to go buy the book and sit down in a quiet place and read the book and absorb it. There's so much technology out there where you can just download it and listen to it while you're driving, listen to it in the shower, while you're getting ready every morning, put it on for 20 minutes and listen to those books. But books are very important. They give you one, education, but also motivation, right? Mm-hmm. And so there's been a lot of books that I've keyed into, but the number one book that I've read over and over and over again that I actually started, I found it in jail. Mm-hmm. And never heard of it before. It's very popular. It's Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Yeah. And most entrepreneurs have a copy of it.
Yeah,
and,
I got it.
And it's something that I read probably twice a year, just because it's one of those books that no matter how many times you read it, there's always just this little nugget you can pull out. And even if it's not a new nugget, it's a refresher of those core, principles and systems and action steps you could take to think and grow rich. And so that would be one of the key ones I would recommend.
I love that. You guys write that down, and don't just write it down, but take action on it.
Yeah.
Get it.
Yeah.
I take it as the 1,000 push-up principle, right? So there's a benefit that you can get from doing 1,000 push-ups, let's just say.
Sure.
But you can only do 70.
Yeah.
And you read it in a book and it talked about the 1,000 push-up principle, and you glanced over it because you're like, I'm only at 70, right? But you keep working out, and you come back and you read it again a year later, and you're up to 200.
Yeah, exactly.
And you read that 1,000 push-up principle, and that sounds great, but I'm only at 200. I'm a long way from 1,000.
Yeah.
And then finally,
4 years later.
Right, you go and you read it, and you're like, wait a minute. If I just increase to 1,000, I'm going to get this benefit. So what happens is when we reread the material, it's not that the material is different, we're different.
Yeah.
We've learned some things, we've grown in spaces, we've surrounded ourselves with different people, and so now we're able to absorb one more nugget. The last thing I'm going to ask you, again, because I told you there was one more thing, is how important is your circle?
Oh man, that is everything. That the old saying that you are who you surround yourself with is so true, in good ways and bad ways. So surrounding yourself with positive people that are making good decisions, obviously is important. But then the next step is getting in the room with people and around people that are where you want to be. And that's a little bit harder because you're not there yet. So getting in those rooms can be tricky, but it's possible. And it comes down to persistence. I want to touch on one other thing because it popped in my head of kind of one of the key action steps. There's two of them that really transformed my business career, right? Mm-hmm. And so there's people out there and majority of people, whether it's incarceration or anything else, they go through a health issue, they go back and, they're back in their normal life, and they've got to survive, right? And so they've got to go work that job. Maybe they have a great business idea that they've been sitting on for years or just came up with, but they feel they can't chase it because they've got to work a job to survive, right? So I don't have time. I've got to work this job for 8 hours or 10 hours, then I have to go pick up my daughter and then cook dinner, and I don't have time to start a business. And one thing I learned early on, and this was just a mentor that I met years and years ago, who I'm in business with now, Mr. Robert Foster. He taught me, if you get up early in the mornings, a lot of people hate hearing that, but it's so true. And so I started getting up at 4:30 in the morning was one action step. And it sounds crazy, but your body adjusts. And now, still to this day, 4:30 every morning I wake up. I don't use an alarm. I haven't for years. I've just conditioned my body that way. And so getting up early allowed me, before I had to get to the office, because I was doing sales at that time to pay off probation. But before that, I was working on the foundation of my first company that launched everything else. And I was doing that from 4:30 in the morning till about 8 in the morning. And then I get ready. And so I had a good 3.5 hours every day, 3.5 hours that I was dedicating to laying the groundwork to build that business. And so that was number one. The other suggestion I can make is a notepad. Writing down things, at least for me, and I still do it to this day. It's sitting right off screen over here. Every day, every morning in that 3-hour block that I still do in the morning of like getting stuff done before the phone and the meetings start, right, is I'm writing down my top goals that I want to accomplish for today, tasks that I want to do, any meetings I have. And I do that every day because it allows me, one, to keep focused on it so I don't get distracted whenever I get out of a meeting. I need to go finish this thing so I can cross it off my list. And two, it allows me to physically cross it off. And that is like a progress step. It's a step up the ladder, which is that happiness for me.
Yeah.
And so once I learned those two things is, one, I got to survive and I got to work to do that. But if I get up early, I can build something above and beyond just survival. And two is if I organize myself with that list, it allows me to have pride in completing it, but also it allows every task to get done because it's staring at me every day.
That's fantastic. One of the things I discovered, somebody told me this, it was a secret. A lot of times they don't want to give away entrepreneurial secrets, but they wanted to give me a secret that Tony Robbins used, same secret that Bill Gates used, same secret that now Mark Zuckerberg used, Richard Branson used. Same secret is 24 hours.
Yeah.
They didn't make extra hours for them.
Yeah.
They all had 24 hours. Yeah. They just used them differently. And one of the things you just said is you can start using that time differently. Yeah. Most people think about what can I do with the time that I use, and what you're saying is use other parts of the time. Yeah. The time that you use,
you maybe don't need to sleep 14 hours. Right. You need to sleep 5-6 hours.
And there's TV and all these other things right now. Entertainment is the new currency. They're competing for your entertainment. How many hours can they get you to put on this screen? And most people have a bigger TV than a library. Yeah. And so what happens is, a lot of programming is for entertainment, but a lot of entertainment is for programming. Yeah. And their job is to keep you there being entertained. I love that. I love what you just said. You know what I'm saying? I'm a fool of it. they do that to keep you there, right? And the people who have made it have found a successful way to break away, to realize. I'll tell you just a secret since we're in Florida. I don't know how many years you'd have to go back, but there was a time where if I went out of town and hit the hotel, I'm grabbing that remote, I'm turning it on, I'm going to watch something. I'm not ready. And now I don't never even think about there's a TV in the room. I was staying in Kenya, and they said, we have to get you a remote. And I said, you don't need a remote. I wouldn't even look for it. Yeah. And even if you got it, I don't even watch it when I'm back home. Yeah. And everybody's speaking English. Yeah, exactly. Now, here they're speaking English, that's Swahili. So I already know I'm not going to watch it. So you can certainly leave it over there. Josh, and it's been amazing talking to you. And I got to commend you just for your transparency, just for the nuggets that you've given to the people. I love the concept of the decision. Starting, you made that decision in prison that you were going to start doing these things, but it was the persistence that got you to the finish line. Absolutely. And now you've turned it full circle, that you've turned your mess into a methodology that you use to help other entrepreneurs getting started. I think that's the circle of life.
Absolutely.
I think that it was a Lion King that had the song, the circle of life. Yes. And I think it's, you start, you make some waves, you make some progress, but then you come back around to helping other people start.
That's my passion. That's what it's all about. That's what Brenda's passion is. I watch what she's done in her organizations. It's incredible. So I'm proud to be part of it.
Two things I want to ask you. You have the sunburn drink. Yep. Where can they get that drink?
All over. We're sunburndrink.com, Amazon, Walmart.com, retailers.
Yeah. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not much of a sun person, so I probably won't get the sunburn drink, but if you guys need that, make sure you get the sunburn drink. Now, you did say you had 4 barbecue restaurants.
Yeah, we've got a barbecue restaurant.
I'm definitely a barbecue person. So I'll be able to report back to you on how good the barbecue was. You guys get the sunburn drink, and make sure you let me know how that worked for you. But
absolutely.
Let's see about getting some barbecue.
Absolutely. Hey, we won 2nd place. Good Morning America National Barbecue Competition.
I want to vote you first place. I'm going to vote you first place. Once I taste this,
Yeah, you
part,
gotta taste it.
you guys, thank you. It's the BTBY from Felon the Fabulous. It's Dr. Ruben West here with Josh, multiple business owners. He's making a difference in people's lives. Thank you for tuning in.
Thanks, guys.
Hi, I'm Kevin Harrington. I'm an original shark from the hit TV show Shark Tank, and I've got something really cool to share with you today. It's called the Sunburn Drink, and it's a total game changer if you spend any time at all in the sun. Now, I've been using it myself out on the golf course, and I can tell you it's made a real difference because Sunburn Drink is an all-natural powder mix packed with over 20 vitamins, collagen, aloe, and other skin-loving nutrients that help support healthy skin after sun exposure. Now, unlike sticky creams or sprays, this works from within, and I just mix it into my water and I'm good to go. It's simple, it's a refreshing way to support my skin after a long day in the sun. And here's the best part. You can try it for free. Just head to sunburndrink.com, go to the products page, and grab your free sample while supplies last. You've got nothing to lose and healthy sun-kissed skin to gain. Give it a shot. Your skin is going to thank you.
Or do you want to be the person that soothes, that loves? Because you can still stand tall and be as big as you want to be when you are this person.